morning. My name is Yad Zangan, as you know, and I'm going to present now the first lecture of our head and neck anatomy part 1 series of lectures. So, you know my philosophy, academic philosophy, so I'm not going to go through it. Excuse me, but I have a cough today, so I might cough a little bit. So we're going to talk today about the skull and the cranial bones. So we're going to start with the neurocranium, and the neurocranium has a number of bones, and we need to learn the names of these bones. Unfortunately, this is how it is. You have to learn the names. So you have to work hard on learning this new vocabulary. Some of it is understandable, some of it is less. So the cranial bones are these bones, which is combined of one frontal bone, two parietal bone, two temporal bones, one occipital, one sphenoid, and one ethmoid. And these are all part of the neurocranium. And here we are. Here we can see the frontal bone, two parietal bones, and these are the sutures, which is the coronal one and the sagittal suture. And then we have also the occipital bone. So occipital bone, two parietal, two frontal, and I'll show you here the temporal bones, one here on the other side, and there's also the sphenoid and ethmoid. This is the sphenoid, and the ethmoid is behind the nose, it's inside. So, and then we have the viscerocranium, which is the bones of the facial part of the skeleton, the facial skeleton, viscerocranium. So the other one was neurocranium, and this is viscerocranium. And we have two zygomatic bones, two nasal bones, one vomer, which is in between, around the nasal septum, two maxillae, two bones of the maxilla, although we have one maxilla, but the bones are two, consistent of two. And then you have also two palatal bones behind, posterior to the maxilla, and one mandible, two inferior nasal conchae as bones, and two lacrimal bones. And this is where they are. This is the one maxilla, zygoma. We've got the palatine is, it's better to see it from inside the mouth. Mandible, we've got the nasal bone here, the lacrimal bone here. So we have lacrimal, and then we've got also the inferior concha, inferior nasal concha, or conchae, which is inside the nasal cavity. Another view of the bones, you can see here. We have 8 cranial bones and 14 facial bones in total. So you need to look at the atlases we've mentioned in the syllabus. It doesn't matter what atlas you use. So use the atlases and get to know the names of these structures. This is very important. Again, more views, cranial bones and the facial bones here. This is the two parts here. So it's segmented into 2 pieces. Remember that most of the nose is cartilaginous, and only a small part is the nasal bone, which is at the top. Okay. So the neurocranium, what is it for? Why is it there? Well, the most important part of your body is the brain. Without the brain, we do not function. We can't live. So the most crucial part of your body is the brain, and that is rigid to protect it. There are some cavities for some special organs. The eyes, there is some cavity here. The ears, and you can see that in the temporal bone here. Here, the ears, there's a cavity here. And then there is the balance, which is within the inner ear inside, and that is also another cavity. And there is sutures and joint. The joint is this temporomandibular joint. Okay, and then the sutures, as we said, there is a number of sutures, which is the coronal, the sagittal, and the lumboid. And they close when we become adults, and they are still, while we're growing, during the growth period, they don't close. And the whole idea is that for the brain to expand and grow with age. So this is kind of like a bit of histology here, to give you an idea about what's going on there. This is the scalp, all layers of the skin and scalp. We're not going to mention that now. With the skull, the bone has an outer and inner table, and the diploid, which is in between, which is a spongious part. And then you've got the duras, etc. We're going to go to all these things in details in different lectures. So these are the sutures. And then we have the, let's look at this. This is also the temporal bone. I think neurocranium, we did this. Yeah, so yeah, we've got the temporal bones, which is on the side. The important parts of this is to know is there is the mastoid here. This is the mastoid. There's the zygomatic process. Think about it. This is temporal bone, but it has a zygomatic process which connects to the zygoma. And then there is the tympanic part. Tympanic is this here, right? Which is the ear part. So that's the tympanic part. And then there is the styloid process, which is this thing here. And a few things connect to it, 3 muscles attached to it and 2 ligaments. So for now, you need to know some stuff attaches to it, which are muscles and ligaments. Mastoid, zygomatic process, tympanic part, and styloid process. These are the important parts. There's a lot more into it, but we'll come to that in details later on. This is from the inside. This is from the outside, and this is from the inside. Zygomatic process. There will be the brain here, and this is the ear, internal acoustics, meatus here. And these are all foramina, which we will discuss and learn what goes through these later on. Parietal bone. Most of the vault is made of the parietal bones, and we have seen that there. Yeah, this is the parietal bones on 2 sides, and that is parietal bone and parietal bone. So a lot of the vault. The vault is what encompasses the brain. So again, we have it here, and then we've got the occipital bone, which is this part here. And what is important here, we have, in addition to it's part of the vault, we've got the frontal, parietal, and the occipital bones, which are very important for the vault, but also foramen magnum. And this is foramen magnum. It's a big, massive hole. What goes through it is the medulla oblongata and all the connections from the brain to the rest of the body with the spine, right? There are some other structures, we'll come to those as well later on, but this is the important part here. The occipital, posterior occipital protuberance is something that you can feel when you feel at the back of the head or scalp here. These lines are where some muscles attach. We'll come to that at a time. We've got the frontal bone. Let's see, this is the frontal bone here. And the frontal bone is, as I said, is part of the vault. And what important structures are that there are some ethmoid air cells. And the ethmoid air cells are behind the nose, between the eyes. There's the frontal sinuses, which is here. And you've got the supraorbital notch and the foramen. So you've got the supraorbital notch here and foramen, right? So it's kind of like, let me see if I can find another. No, we can't find it there. I'll show you in the lab as well what this is. So it's kind of like a foramen, and we need to know that foramen. It's very important where the supraorbital vessels and nerves come out. Ethmoid, frontal sinuses, and supraorbital notch or foramen. Next is the sphenoid bone. And the sphenoid bone is